Call this Washington County Board of Education meeting to order. Thanks everyone for coming. We're going to ask Miss Natalie to, after a moment of silence, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. All right. We need consideration of the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Jennifer, are we voting on this tonight?
The consent agenda?
Yes. Electronically?
Yes, voting is open.
What are we doing? So we're going to ask for 5.G, 5.M, and 5.C to be added under any certain.
Well, that's the end of this. This is five, so we'll go
Okay,
with
got all that.
You won't.
All right, so I'll just send that.
How do you vote, Mr. Irwin?
Do we need to, a motion to add that?
Mr.
Add
Hammond,
these?
is yours open?
No.
How do you vote? It carries.
All right, before we do the meeting agenda, we need to add,
It's J, K, G, F, J and K.
so here,
Yes,
J and K.
sir. Yes, sir.
All right, I need to add, per the director, 5.J, 5.K.
That's it, those two.
That's it, okay. 2 items to the meeting agenda.
What are they?
Purchase orders for the architect and engineering fees for the work that's been done to develop the specs for the ball fields. And K is virtual Winston.
I'll make that motion. We approve the meeting agenda with the
J and K.
additions. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. We're ready, Jennifer?
Voting is open. It carries.
All right, first on the agenda is the director's report, Mr. Boyd.
So the director's reports are for your information and for public record. You have, no need to take any action, just for your information. I want to start off by just welcoming Natalie as a student board member, and congratulations on your upcoming graduation. As you were talking to me about an AP test coming up, I wish you all the best. Do the best you can. You're ready, and you'll do well. We also want to start out with recognizing students. And in doing that, I want to call up Ms. Crystal Fink to kind of get us started, introduce our instructors, and then they will introduce their students.
Thank you, Director Board and school board members. One of the best things about serving in education is when we can recognize the accomplishments of our students and the leadership of our instructors. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Daniel Boone Health Science Program, and their instructors will introduce themselves and give you highlights. Thank you.
Hello,
Hey.
my name is Kelly Holdren, and I have Miss Sherry Graham back here, and Mrs. Ashley Johnson. We are the health science instructors at Daniel Boone High School. We wanted to come here today to put a spotlight on our students. In this weird and crazy year, these guys have been so awesome, and so we just wanted to recognize them in front of you guys tonight. So I have two different groups that I'm going to highlight for you tonight. So first is going to be our HOSA competitors. So if those of you that competed in HOSA this year, we'll just kind of step forward. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and then what events they competed in HOSA. You want to start us off?
My name is Annabelle Nelms, and I competed in the pathophysiology competition at HOSA, and I placed 5th in regionals.
Good job.
My name is Elijah Gouge, and I competed in nutrition. I was 2nd in region and 4th in state.
My name is Kendall Willis. I did medical reading. I placed 1st in regionals and 4th in state.
My name is Delaney Conway. I did the health career display with Grace White, and we placed 2nd in state.
Wait, you placed 2nd in state, and that qualified them for International Leadership Conference this summer. So the top 3 in state get to go to that. So they have the opportunity to do that, and Grace could not be here with us tonight.
My name is Kelly Greer. I did health career photography. I placed 1st place in our regional competition, and I made it to the very last round of our state competition.
I'm Jacob Sullivan. I placed 4th in regionals in biomedical laboratory science.
So while this year we had a smaller number that competed in HOSA, usually we have probably at least 30. I'm so proud because all of these students who placed in the regional competition, which is our first level, they all made it to state. So even though we had a small number, they did so awesome, and I'm just so proud of them. So congratulations to those guys. And then I have my medical assistant class that I'm going to recognize. So if you guys would step forward, and there's a lot of overlap in these, of our HOSA competitors that are also in the medical assistant class. So the medical assistant class, this is my 2nd year doing this class at Boone. I did it in 2019, the fall semester before COVID hit and changed our world. And so going into this year with Miss Fink changing roles and becoming a full-time CTE director, we lost her position, as you guys are aware of. And so it was just Miss Graham and I holding down the health science role at Daniel Boone. And it was, you know, for the two of us, it was all we could do to just do the prereq courses and not get to the certified or the certification classes. So thanks to you all, Ms. Fink, speaking out for us and getting our 3rd teacher hired, Mrs. Johnson. This semester we were able to sneak in an industry certification class. So we were still able to give these guys an opportunity to get those industry certifications before they graduated. So I'm really excited and very thankful that we were able to do that. So you may be wondering, may not be familiar with what a CMA is. So I'm going to tell you just a brief little bit of what a medical assistant is. You've probably encountered them before if you've ever been to a doctor's office. You may have just not realized what a medical assistant was. They perform a combination of administrative and clinical duties in the healthcare setting, and they work directly under the supervision of a physician. So when you guys go into a doctor's office, the person who takes you back does your vital signs, gets all your health history, any information before you see the doctor. That's most likely a medical assistant. So we have been working so hard all semester to get these students prepared for their medical assistant exam, which is going to be next Thursday on the 13th. They're taking that exam at Boone, and I know they're going to do great things. While we're awaiting that test, they all have passed an industry certification already. They have done the OSHA 10 healthcare, which is a Tennessee promoted student industry certification. So that goes towards their ready graduate status. And if you're not familiar with OSHA 10 healthcare, it is a training for entry-level workers on the safety and the health hazards in the workplace in the healthcare industry. I'll just, since they're all in a bunch, I'll just call out their names, and if you just want to say hi and raise your hand so we can recognize each of you. Caitlin Bishop.
Hi.
Patricia Chella.
Hi.
Delaney Conway.
Hi.
Madison Cox.
Hi.
Elaine Edmonds. Peyton Green. Kelly Greer.
Hi.
Rebecca Higgins, who could not be here tonight, Annabelle Nelms, Emily Nelson, Jacob Sullivan, and Grace White, who could also not be here. I'm gonna have one of the students speak to you guys, but first and lastly from me, a lot of these guys are also taking a dual credit exam tomorrow with Northeast, so they're gonna try to pass that exam in order to get college credit in a medical terminology class. So wish them luck for tomorrow, and we're gonna have Miss Kelly Greer here speak to you about her journey.
Hello everyone, my name is Kelly Greer. I am a senior this year. First and foremost, I want to thank the school board for allowing us to come tonight. But more specifically, I want to thank you guys for having this year end in such a nice way. After it was kind of a mess at first and we thought we weren't going to have a senior year, it's been great to get back in class and also get back with these students that I love. I know this has been a tough year for everyone. I'm sure it has been a tough year for you guys as well. I would like to thank our teachers so much, Mrs. Holdren, Mrs. Graham, and Mrs. Johnson for making this possible for us. Without them helping us and guiding us through this time, I'm not sure if we would have been able to achieve all that we have so far. I know many of us would be lost and also worried. And as many of the students here are juniors and also seniors, having them here to help us figure out our lives and what we want to do as we enter the workforce has been tremendously helpful. Again, their knowledge in the medical field has just enhanced our love for the medical field as well, and it's introduced us to so many career opportunities and career paths that we could follow. They, for one, have inspired me to study nursing starting in the fall at ETSU. Also, the extracurricular activities that we have at Boone have majorly impacted me. From freshman year until now, my medical knowledge has grown tremendously. As I am preparing for the medical assisting certification exam, I am very worried, but I am also extremely grateful because I know there's a lot of students across the country that aren't able to have such a great opportunity as this one. This opportunity to gain an entry-level job right after high school has broadened my horizons. It's going to help me gain clinical hours, it's going to help me learn the terminology in the workforce, and I think it's going to give me a leg up with my competitors. Also, competing in HOSA taught me so many things. It taught me how to speak in front of people, which I'm not sure if I would be able to do this today if it wasn't for that. It taught me time management, but also it just taught me how much I love being around the healthcare industry and how much I just wanted to help people. In addition, the CMA students had the opportunity to gain the industry OSHA certification thanks to Mrs. Holdren, which was a 10-hour course that we completed online. It was amazing, and I know that I will take that with me even now when I work my job at Dunkin' Donuts. I feel like it's stuck in the back of my brain of what I should do and what I should not do. In addition, I know that it's going to be great on college resumes and also job applications whenever we all pass our certification and we go to work as medical assistants in the summer. So in conclusion, I could talk to you for hours and have nothing but good things to say about the Boone High School's HOSA program. Everything from the elective classes, the equipment, and the teachers have been nothing but spectacular. I'm so happy that Washington County has had such good representatives of the healthcare industry and such good representatives as a whole. A part of me will always be in those classrooms with these teachers and these students learning and growing with one another. And I just want to thank you all so much for letting me talk to you today about what I have experienced and what I know every single one of these students have experienced as well.
Thank you all so much. Thank you guys.
Thank you all. Good luck tomorrow.
I want to say something. When I was in the hospital here about a month ago, I'm sitting there in the chair, and a Daniel Boone student comes in there that had graduated from you all from last year. And they don't give you very much clothes to wear when you're in the hospital. And I'm sitting there going, because I know the girl, because we show cattle with her and everything. And I'm sitting there, and she says, I'm a student at Northeast State, I think, or wherever. I've got to look at your groin where I went in to do that. And I said, okay, I'm laid back over here a little bit. Okay, but you all, I have a daughter that's an RN BSN.
That's awesome.
It's a good thing.
It's a great career and it's never going anywhere, so.
No, it's not.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you all.
for all we do.
Thank you. Congratulations and good luck.
Now that they're scared, they may never be.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. It's a very embarrassing thing. It takes a lot to embarrass me.
I hope we don't get this.
It don't matter. It don't matter.
And, you know, certainly great to highlight students, and hope and I know we'll continue to do that in their accomplishments. They demonstrated certainly, you know, in competition with their organization, excellence as well as pursuing those post-secondary credentials. So, you know, our main job is certainly to get them from pre-K to 12 and be ready for success. But while they're in high school, if we can provide them opportunities to set, you know, have their foot in the door already as they advance to their next stage of their life as far as career opportunities, that's what we need to continue to do. Academics certainly is a top priority, but ultimately all that academic training prepares them for careers. And that's really what we're here to do, is help them, get them ready for a future career. So, a couple other items, these are non-action. I just, you know, by board policy, field trips that are not out of state or overnight are at the director's approval, and that's just a listing of all the approved field trips for all of you to see that don't fall under that policy, that aren't out of state overnight. Facility updates. This item in the director's report is something I hope to continue. It really, you know, this is kind of just the beginning and setting the stage. Working with Mr. Patrick, we have a work order tracking system, and as you can see, kind of as a quick glance, I just saw it on the facilities update. What it'll provide you is just an idea of what categories that our maintenance department, maintenance team's working on, and what's being submitted by the schools on facility updates. That's actually the field trip report. So just want to begin to have that in front of you every month. What you should see in a report, and this one is just a very big overview. You can see the categories. You'll be able to see the categories as you download these and review them yourselves. But, you know, from electrical to plumbing and to other types of maintenance items. Also, what we will get to the point of, you will start seeing over an annual period, you know, what our rate is of completing work orders within a window of a month. So we'll start reporting that in future board reports under director reports.
So what's an example of miscellaneous?
Well, that's something, and you know, I certainly would ask Mr. Patrick to step up, but really it's things that's a catch-all. We are working in coding these items so that we have fewer items in miscellaneous, so that they should be more accurately represented in the other categories that are more defined. But could you give a possible example of what might be miscellaneous right now, Mr. Patrick?
Oh goodness, it could be
Could be like birds in a gym.
yeah.
Please don't say that.
Yeah, let's not say that.
Well, it
Excellent
happens.
example.
We got
Just-
bats.
Just
I
think
understand.
that
Yes, sir.
principals or their designee cannot really find the right place to plug it in, and
Sorry,
That's
so
okay.
it's when it comes from the school, they tag it miscellaneous because it doesn't fit in any of these categories.
yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll work on a process, even, you know, not to put the burden on the school to tag it appropriately. If it's
Right.
something that needs to be identified in a more defined way or better way, then we'll work with the schools from Mr. Patrick's level to make sure it's coded correctly,
okay, thank you.
so the reporting is accurate. So, you know, we're going to work to provide that information to you monthly.
Thank you.
And at any time, if you want a report pulled, we can do that for you as well, but just you can expect it each month. Personnel report, there's only one item, and again, no action required. This particular instance is a leave of absence. You know, by policy, that's approved by the director of schools. And this list will grow. In the future, we will place on here any personnel changes that might include a say a termination or resignation or a new hire, there'll be an ongoing list each month in a personnel report that you will see in a spreadsheet. And then the last two items, there was one here that I didn't include, but I plan on including a grant update report. And it will be also just a running spreadsheet about what grants, how much, and kind of a brief description. But today, being May 4th, and Mrs. McKinney went through a great amount of trouble and time and then begin that process. And I'm scheduled to present, Brad and I, tomorrow at 9 a.m. So there have been some updates, and as the meeting started, I don't know if Brad saw this, we received our BEP estimates right when the meeting started from the State Department. So tomorrow's presentation will be based on what you all have approved, but we will need to make adjustments in future drafts of our general purpose budget moving forward. That will include that revenue and any other revenue changes that we have realized by then. Just to give you a heads up, tomorrow at 9, we present. If you have any pointers, that's certainly always appreciated, and Brad and I will do our best and make sure we answer all questions and present what the board has approved. And other than that, that's all of the director's report.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move into action items. First one is virtual school. Who has that one?
That would be me.
Okay.
And really, I'm going to request consideration and for your consideration for approval that we move forward with expanding our virtual school that has been approved by the state 9 through 12 to officially serve 6 through 12. So include 6th, 7th, and 8th. And the 6th through 8th grade, based on experience that you all have had, that we have had, we want it to be a little different than what the 9-12 students experience. We will be looking at and proposing to use ESSER dollars to hire qualified grade level teachers for those grades to support those students, depending on the number of students we have enrolled. So we want to enroll students, giving priority to those that are currently full-time virtual in rising 6th graders in 6 through 8, including rising 6th graders, this year's 5th graders. Those families that were in full-time virtual and that wish to, in the middle school grades, continue with that option next year. So they will receive priority consideration, and we will limit it to, not just them, but to the class size that we can manage with just hiring 3 teachers maximum. Yes, ma'am.
How will we communicate to the parents to let them know, ask them if they're interested?
We've already reached out, and we have numbers, that a good number of the total number of virtual students, including high school students, their families have indicated that they intend to come back in person, which is, certainly what we all hope if they were only going virtual because they had concerns about COVID. But if they feel like the virtual environment is best for them, and that's the kind of learning that they thrive in, we certainly want to continue offering 9-12 options that we have, that Washington County has, but also extend that down to the 6th through 8th grade. And what I would propose in my request for your consideration for approval to add 6 through 8 to the virtual school is that we certainly do it this year, and then throughout the year monitor, and then come back to the board next year if we can continue that beyond next year. So,
you want a motion?
Yeah, my request is in the form of a possible motion is that we extend 6 through 8 a virtual school and provide services that are appropriate for 6th through 8th graders in the virtual environment.
I make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
This is different than the virtual academy, correct?
It would be an extension. We currently have a school number that was approved by the state of Tennessee. We would be seeking to add 6 through 8. It's approved for 9-12. So it would fall under the same school number, but the approach and how the supports will occur will be a little different than what 9 through 12 looks like. Yes, more middle school appropriate.
And your plan is to fund it with ESSER dollars?
To address the instructional staff's costs. Yes. They will be involved in using adopted curriculum to create these courses in our learning management system, and then the model that we will use in middle school will be a synchronous model where the virtual students would have access to students every day in a synchronous manner, but then they certainly could do work online.
And that's for next school year?
Yes, for the 21-22 school year.
Anybody else? All right, let's vote.
Voting is open.
I feel like, I'll wait till we're done. Jennifer says we're done.
Motion carries.
Okay, now we're done. Miss, I guess mask updates is you.
I suppose so, yes, sir.
We'll let you have that one.
All right, thank you. You know, first of all, and certainly as I was seeking the opportunity to serve and watching all of the past videos and all the discussions you all had, and not just you, but having a chance to work at the Department of, you know, the State Department of Tennessee, and then seeing what all of our school districts across the state were dealing with throughout this pandemic and making some very difficult decisions. You know, throughout, you know, you certainly have tried to seek feedback from healthcare officials, regional health department, the Tennessee Department of Health, as well as what the CDC has put out to guidance to schools. You know, and I believe that's really, even though Washington County went back to in-person late, all of that, all of those precautions really enabled you to finish school, and all of us to finish school in person. So we're all excited about all we've learned this past year, and then the support that we've received and the data we received regularly from the health department, both regionally and from the State Department of Health. That you know, I think there's still some debate out there, and I'm sure you've had one or two calls or emails about either side of the issue, and everyone's passionate about the information they have and the concern they have, and everyone should be respected for their viewpoints. But I think to finish the year, my request for consideration is we finish strong, but we look at some reasonable modifications for these next few weeks of this school year. What I propose is for the rest of this year, you know, we continue, as our employees continue to wear masks indoors, including buses, unless in a room without students when social distancing practices can be followed. As far as our students, K-5 students may remove masks at the student desk, so when they're at the desk working or sitting in their seats, I think they should be able to, at this point, I recommend that they are able to remove their masks, but when they're moving around the classroom and they're in commons areas, or even if they're outside and they're in a crowd and there's no possibility for social distancing, masks should be considered. But when they're inside and in commons areas and on buses, masks should still be on. And that's all students, not just, you know, K through 12. All students should wear masks when moving around classrooms, common areas, and buses. All students and employees may remove their masks when outside, and of course, like I said, unless social distancing is not possible, just as an extra precaution. You know, the board enacted this mask mandate, and I think, again, to finish strong, we can certainly pursue these flexibilities targeted at our younger students that are the least vulnerable, but we have had upticks in the number of young students that have been exposed to COVID. Most likely they were not exposed in the school environment, but they bring that to the school environment. But I do think it's such a small number, and the risk to our younger students is much less than our older students and adults, that's why I make the recommendation to remove masks while they're at the desk. So that we can begin transitioning to the next phase. I also recommend summer sessions, which we have several that will be attending our summer sessions this summer at all grade levels. And I make the recommendation at this time that the masks become optional for all students and employees in summer sessions. And then we revisit tonight's motion about both finishing the school year and summer sessions is for tonight, and then we revisit 2021-22 practices in our July board meeting, just so we have more time to identify the trends and the data. But we all hope, and I'm sure if you're with me as far as bigger hopes than that, we all pray that we're in a great position when we start the next school year, that a mask conversation is only for those that feel like they need to, and it's an optional choice. And if that's the case, and masks are optional, we will just work hard to make sure that there's an environment where if a family or an individual student decides they want to wear a mask, that they feel comfortable doing so. So with that, my motion is rest of the year, K-5 students may remove masks at their desk. All students may remove masks when they're eating in designated areas. All students wear masks when moving around the classroom, in commons areas, and on the buses. And then also, if they're outside and somehow they're not able to social distance and they're in a crowd, masks should be used.
So I would like to make that motion for him.
I'll
Can we
second.
put that in the form of a motion?
Any discussion? Okay, let's vote.
Voting is open.
Unless you come in 30 minutes late.
Mitchell get to it.
Yeah, long Mitch can we're worried about it.
All approve, it carries.
Okay, I'm gonna say C, be yours as well.
Yes, sir. This one is, you know, originally this was not through board action, but I felt like as a public announcement, it needed to be on under discussion item. And then, of course, if you choose to take any action, that's obviously the board's prerogative. Graduation ceremonies originally, and it was a practice set last year, especially during the height of the pandemic, the very early stages when certainly a lot of red flags were up, and all of the difficulty that you all were dealing with in making the decisions last year about graduation. There was limited tickets because of concern for the pandemic and COVID. Talking with principals, what the principals will be doing as far as to better support their families, particularly families that have multiple children, is to extend the number that they previously had set for tickets for families. Now, what's been discussed is, for example, Boone had a maximum number per family for 6 students, or 6 for each student in their family. We'd like to increase the available tickets for each family to 8. Mr. Campbell did say, in realizing there are some large families, and in addition to the fact that Boone's graduation is outdoors. So based on just, Mr. Campbell and staff knowing the limits of the facility and working with families that might need additional tickets, he will do that on an individual basis. But the number will be increased from 6 to 8 for each family. And then at Crockett, they're having an indoor graduation, which poses additional level of planning as far as dealing with our concerns around COVID. But they do feel like, especially with vaccines, the number of people being vaccinated, and just also being more aware of how to either mask themselves or and keep their hands washed and social distance when possible. They're going to increase the 4 ticket maximum to 8 also. So both high schools will provide each family with 8 tickets to the graduation ceremony. And you certainly are welcome to make a motion, of course, but that's more of a public announcement. Tomorrow, I asked the high schools to begin tomorrow communicating to the families about the increase in the number of tickets per family.
Sure. I've had some parents that was upset over K-8, 8th grade graduations. And some principals is doing it one way, and some principals are doing it another way. Can you talk to the K-8 world and say, if they want to have an in-person deal, that it's okay?
That certainly was not on my radar, but I'll be glad to. Yes, sir.
I don't, and for me, I don't understand if we can have them in person with high schools while we're not having them in person with the 8th grades. I'm confused on that.
I would say, and I think we certainly want to provide the principals that opportunity to manage their building in that way. But to my knowledge, and Ms. Hayes, I know you've been involved in these conversations. I would just be honest, I have not, as far as 8th grade graduations. Do you have anything that could be added to the conversation?
The principals did get together a little over a month ago, and they all decided to try to stay and do the same thing. And it was around having parades or some type of virtual ceremony for kindergarten and 8th grade. So I do know that they collaborated and they all got together and wanted to, what you mentioned, everyone do that, try to stay and do the same thing. So
Well,
that
I mean,
was their plan.
I just feel like if it's all right for us to have it in the high schools, I think we need to have it in our 8th grade because, you know, that's the last time them kids are gonna be at that school, so.
So we'll let Mr. Boyd handle
Let
that.
Mr. Boyd, that's why I asked if he could,
I'll work with
Check
Ms.
to see what-
Hayes and the principals and we'll
you know, it's okay with us and okay with you. I don't want,
I've just got a question, what alternative, area does Boone have in case of rain?
In the
Move
gym.
to the gym.
Yes, ma'am, that's
How
the
does-
backup plan.
Is that still gonna be?
yeah,
how does that
you
deal
won't
with
hurt,
chickens?
Bill. It'd be all right.
You know, and I certainly don't want to speak for Mr. Campbell. I would imagine if they have to move it to the gym, just like I've been told at Crockett, there's an overflow area, so they will have to plan for that. So, you know, probably prioritize parents and then any other family members that they might not be able to get into the gymnasium for the ceremony. They would make sure that they're comfortable in the alternative area.
Okay, thank you.
But it's not gonna happen.
That's gonna be beautiful.
I've had a lot of people, parents at
Okay,
Boone,
let's
so it
see.
can be worked out if they have larger families and they can,
Mr.
Try to
Campbell and staff's going to work
call
with
him.
individual families.
all right, sounds good.
I do think, you know, in gist, it's just saying that, you know, as, just to be funny, but be serious also, you know, if a family has 50 family members, I think Mr. Campbell's going to be challenged to try to meet that request.
Right, I understand.
So no action unless the board feels like there needs to be action, but there's no action required.
I don't think we need to do anything, yeah.
No.
Thank
Leave it up to
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is David Crockett High School practice field.
Mhm.
You wanna handle that one?
Sure, well.
You're doing a good job.
You know, the request was that using existing funds to create a practice field on the Crockett campus. All the groundwork was done. We discussed all of that in the workshop. During the workshop, there was a request about irrigation, you know, for the board to kind of direct me to talk with Crockett to talk about potentially irrigation. I'll read you what Josh sent me, you know, and just to read it out loud as far as his homework on the issue at Crockett. Just to go straight to the content. An estimate has been sent regarding the sod and irrigation to be installed on the potential new practice field. It has been difficult to find other businesses willing to take the time to give me a quote. Several local businesses that sell parts have indicated that parts could potentially be on back order until August. He said additionally, adding irrigation at this time would call for the project to be placed beyond the point where it could be moved forward without a bid. So as the additional costs associated with irrigation would place the quote over $10,000. Furthermore, the clarification, he wanted to clarify that the baseball and softball outfields are not irrigated. I think there was a discussion about the outfields. So currently they're not irrigated. With that knowledge, it is my request that the board proceed, allow the project to proceed with the project as it's been submitted without irrigation. This will allow us to accomplish our goal of having the field ready for the upcoming season. This is, he said, acknowledge this is not exactly the board's wish, but he just hopes that they can just go ahead and move forward. The quote that he did send me was lower than I expected, but it was just a quote for potential costs for supplies and labor, and it was $5,000 to install an irrigation system on that field.
And it was that Josh has got the funds to do this, correct?
He is utilizing funds that are provided to that lake.
And it's gonna bleed over into 21
Yes,
school
sir.
year.
Yes, they're basically splitting 2 fiscal years with money that he has left over and then using a portion of next year's fund. Yes, sir.
All right, we have a
I make a
motion.
motion, we go ahead and allow him to do the fields.
Second. Do you have something?
I want to talk about it because if you're building something, you need to finish it and do it right. So why wouldn't you want to put irrigation in it? I mean,
What did it cost?
Well, I mean, $5,000 is $5,000, but if you're building something new, put the irrigation in there.
I understand the baseball and softball fields don't have irrigation, but
They're not used.
they're not, yeah, I mean, you're not using the same, but, I mean,
I've got irrigation
I guess we
out
can
there
go
at the
back now.
road that is never turned on,
right.
you know?
I mean, if
This
it's a
is
problem,
gonna
we can
be
go back
used.
at it.
Yeah, but you're gonna tear it back
I
up.
know, but it ain't gonna be that bad. All you're gonna do is trench a line for some sprinkler area. I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world.
So if I may, you know, in the development of a football field, you know, you get it up to the point where it's crowned and everything ready before you even put seed on it or sprigs or sod. So we still have a little more time, and he can continue to see, I mean, we do have a quote. So what I'm saying is they can proceed, towards getting the field ready, and if we want to revisit this in June, we certainly can. But the important thing is for them to get started as soon as they can.
I don't have a problem with them getting started. I'd like to see us come up with $5,000.
Can we talk about it a little later on and maybe see if we can come up with some money to help a couple, you know, maybe Boone's got a project, maybe, you know.
Yeah, if anywhere.
Once we see where we're at with the budget and get it approved, I mean, would that be okay?
Let's approve the practice field, which that's what the motion is.
Yeah.
And then the irrigation, then,
And revisit.
yeah, please.
Okay.
At least they can get this.
Anybody else?
So you're revisiting the irrigation?
Later on.
Yeah, at a later time.
Thank you.
We're ready.
I'd like to make sure that is brought up before it's complete.
Voting is open.
Will you do that, set your facilities
Absolutely.
later on?
Yes.
I'll be all right, Keith? Okay.
You gotta vote.
Did you say that was done?
It's open, Mr. Irvin and Mr. Marion.
Oh, it is part of your
Okay.
Motion carries.
I swear, Mr. Boyd, I think really E would be you too.
That's okay. Yes, sir. And this is.
Longer director.
This was discussed in the workshop. It's replacement of door hardware at Westview Elementary. I request that you consider approval.
Got a motion for approval? So moved. Got a second?
Who made the
Second.
motion?
Mr. Masters made the motion, Mr. Fleener seconded.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? All right, let's vote.
Voting is open.
I wasn't optional anyway, really. What about F? You wanna do F?
Motion carries.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion.
To approve.
You want to read it first?
Yeah, this was at the workshop as well. Mr. Hell gave you an overview and the cost savings for moving in this direction. I certainly request that you consider approval.
All right, we got a motion, Mr. Fleener. Second, Mr. Irvin. Let's vote.
Mr. Ham.
Mr. Ham, sorry. Here's that mouse.
Voting is open.
I apologize, Mr. Hammond.
What vehicle are you driving?
I'm just saying.
I promise you, he's been called worse.
That's
true.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to G. I'll leave it to you.
This certainly this was also discussed at the workshop. It's a CNC router for a CT program for Crockett, and I request that you consider approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Mr. Riddle. All right.
If only we can see it in use next year.
Oh, yeah, you'll wear it out. How about? Okay.
Still got two.
Yeah, I'm ready for them. I'm waiting on you to tell me. I can move
All
on.
right, motion carries.
Okay, now we're gonna go to 5J, which is PO.
No, we're going to H, the next item.
H?
H, yes, sir.
How did I get to H?
Try that.
Where's that?
Second
at?
page.
Oh, we're skipping.
Yes, sir.
Please. I wrote my J and K on the wrong page. Sorry.
Then this is it requesting for the board to authorize me to go to the Hugh Committee and request technology and bus funds for fiscal year 22.
Make your motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Did you have time to check on the differences between fuel and propane?
I did not, I'm sorry. You know, this is to approve getting the funds, then you will, once again, the board will approve any purchases from there.
So we're not approving to buy propane buses, we're buying buses.
This is to get money so we are in a position to buy buses, yes, sir.
We'll approve them later. All right, Jennifer.
Voting is open. Motion carries.
Yes, ma'am.
So are we using any of these funds to purchase, to replace cords that don't work anymore? Is that something that we're having to do? Because I know there's been some cords that don't work. So how's that playing in with our budget?
Well, you know, the technology funds are intended to replace Chromebooks, and of course with new Chromebooks becomes cord. I'm sure if those have been, those concerns have been submitted to our technology department, we'll find a way to address those needs. If they need, you know, they do run on electricity, they do need cord.
Right, they just, you know, the cord tears up before the Chromebook sometimes. You know, the shorts or it's shorts in it or whatever, and it doesn't charge it. So I was just wondering how that was playing into our budget.
These funds through the capital funds are intended to refresh and replace old Chromebooks.
Okay.
All right, moving on to I. I thought Mr. Boyd ought to handle that one.
Okay, that, you have, Mr. Hill, I believe, has provided the motion. That was discussed in the workshop as well, and he had helped with the language of the motion, so.
I'll make a motion as the clerk of the board to be paid his or her comparable hourly rate of pay for any time spent fulfilling the duties of the clerk of the board. This motion is effective starting in FY '21, and we also have the best clerk in any board for that. Go ahead.
Second. You got a second? Does that cover everything, Brad?
It does.
Voting
Any
is
discussion?
open. Oh, sorry.
Let's vote. Thank you, Mr. Flainer. Yeah, he really is.
Motion carries.
Thanks. Can we go to Jay?
Yes, sir. This is an item that the board had voted to, you know, for us to pursue and get estimates on what the cost would be to renovate the two high school football stadiums and the various options. In that work, it does include architectural and engineering fees, and just bringing that back to the board to ensure that we, you know, the board approval for to take care of the engineering and architectural fees that are associated with that work.
All right, so we have a motion.
No. Got a question?
Any more questions?
Well,
Okay.
can
One at a time.
I was just gonna make the motion so that we could discuss.
That's what I thought we'd do, but.
So I make the motion that we take care of the stadium renovation.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Flainer.
I thought we didn't pay for the architect until the work was done. I thought that's normally how.
No, sir, they don't typically work for free, and even if they're really trying hard to get our business, they got all the time, and it's really their time. So, but what it would not, you know, it would certainly be a limited amount compared to the total cost of the project if we do not proceed with the project.
So we pay this, and we don't owe them no more money, no matter if we do the project or not, or we still have to pay them?
If we proceed with the project, you know, they're the architect of record and their engineering team, so then the other fees kick in that are associated with other preparation.
Does
I guess my only thought is, it has renovations. I'd like to replace rather than renovate.
I hold that thought.
That's not what it says.
That's what I'm saying.
Can I ask a question real quick?
That's what I'm saying.
Phil, if I may, Mr. Patrick. So is this for the work they've already done that we need to pay for? I'm a little confused. Or is this a quote to do the work? Because when they give us a report.
Right, and I don't have it here in front of me right now, but what they've done already and gave you those two proposals, that was, those are just pre-budget estimates.
Okay.
Now, if they begin the process of making contractual drawings and biddable drawings, then the fees will start.
So this is to get it started?
I would imagine so.
But not probably the final.
Correct, it would not be the complete build out.
There'll still be a percentage of what the cost was, right, okay.
But if we decide not to renovate and replace, we're not obligated by this, right? To do one or the other.
We're deciding that right now.
Now, if you're gonna ask the architect to start some design drawings, I would imagine the board would need to decide which direction to go.
That's what I thought.
My question is, the companies that puts the building, that puts the stands and stuff together, don't they offer an architect person to come in there and look at it and us let them handle it?
I'd say the problem with that is you've got to hire one without any specs. And the architect really, to keep everything straight, needs to tell you.
Because he's neutral.
Yeah. Even though it costs you more money, yes, you're right, if you was doing it on your own, but where we're doing it, we need to have a mediator.
All right, then,
in my opinion.
Be the same thing as a project manager. If we hired somebody as a project manager to oversee this project getting done, then why would we need, if the company that puts the stands in has their own architect that could come in there and look at it, we have a project manager that we hire and let them take care of it.
How did we come up with the bleacher specs at Gray?
We have.
That's a serious question.
Inside?
Yeah.
Inside ones, we just purchased them.
Okay.
We just.
So who told us we just did it?
We just did it.
So you think we can just do them?
I think Philip is the one then you do the one in the inside and inspect them,
Yes,
what
the
we
ones
have
in-
now.
The indoor bleachers at a basketball court are pretty straightforward. I have so many feet of wall, so many numbers of stands, and I can put that specification out for bid, and I want them either electrified or not, and you all saw those specs, and that's what you get on. In the case with the outdoor stadium, it probably needs to be bid through a general contractor, so they can coordinate demolition,
Grading.
prep for the aluminum bleachers, and coordinate the aluminum bleacher contractor to come in. Because the aluminum bleacher salesperson and contractor will not pour the concrete piers to set the aluminum bleachers on. So you need that general contractor to coordinate those things and see that they all come in on time, put in by the specification.
Yeah.
Well, my argument is if they're in the bleacher building business, they should do it all.
They're not gonna do it all. Remember Irwin on the side of that hill?
Yeah.
Somebody had to prep all that, all those concrete piers that was poured all over the side of
But
that hill.
the bleacher bunch probably got the person. It wasn't us, or was it the boards?
I don't know. Yes, sir.
All right, three questions. First, we're talking about 50,000, right?
Yeah.
Boone and Crockett.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Second, what are the specific deliverables for that 50,000?
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't-
What are the specific deliverables for the 50,000?
Well, the specific deliverables, for this work would be to, number one, provide us specifications and the cost estimates for renovation work as opposed to fully replacement. They did the groundwork in identifying the technical specs to come up with that estimate. So it's really probably an hourly, based work until it then would kick into project management or the design phase and engineering phase and finally project management. That would extend the cost of the piece.
And actually,
I won't be third.
Actually, now I have 4 questions. But the third question is will this 50,000, depending on if we move forward with the project, will that be credited against their normal fee?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right. And so my 4th question then is, are we gonna pay this out of school funds, or are we going to the county capital?
It would be part of the request for capital.
Okay.
Mr. Flainer?
I'm done.
I may be wrong, and I know we've had a lot of meetings since we've done anything, but I don't ever remember doing anything like this to where we, not to exceed 25,000. Because I know sometimes we didn't get the funding to do a project, but we done it in good faith that we were trying to do all we could to do a project. And I know they don't work for free, but at the same time, there's a lot of hopes and dreams we'll get them to look at to give us some numbers. I just.
You wanna say
Go ahead.
I will say something. So, okay, before we vote on this then, we got at least one board member that wants to entertain new bleachers. I don't think we ought to vote to do anything here until we at least decide what we want to do. Go again.
I'd like to make a motion we postpone this. Or somebody else will second.
I'm sorry.
I'll rescind my second. Discuss replacement.
Well, wait a minute. We gotta do something, guys.
We don't have to.
You just table it.
That's fine.
So this is just if we do renovation. It doesn't cover basis for replacement with new. It's only for renovation.
That's what this is right
I
here.
think it's just labeled that way. It was the work that's been presented to you in developing the technical specs to get the numbers for renovation versus replacement. That's what the work was commissioned for. This is really a cleanup item to ensure that they get paid for the work.
That's what I'm
This is the work
saying.
that's already been done.
Yes,
To this
sir.
point,
This is a
where we
cleanup
got those
item.
big reports and things.
Yes, sir.
This right here.
Mr. Boyd, if we was to approve this and we decide for replacement, would that go towards a credit on the architecture work for replacement?
I can't answer that.
I mean, that's,
Do we have a bill for what we've
I
done
thought
so
that's what I
far?
asked a minute ago. I thought that's what I asked a minute ago, and you said yes.
And it will go towards,
Yes.
that would go toward any final fee, yes, sir. Yeah,
It would be incorporated into any
Yes.
future.
but we wouldn't be hand-tied for renovation only.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
But do we owe them for what they've already done for what they give us? Or
No,
have
sir.
we paid that?
No, sir.
So that's what we gotta do this to pay them.
If we move
Is that their
Best
bill?
of my knowledge,
That's
we
what I'm
don't-
saying, they gave us a
That's
report.
not their bill. They will be billing us. This is, when we issue that, we need to have an approved PO, for them to bill us.
That's what I'm getting at, so.
I say let them bill us and get the bill, what the work they have done. And then we decide on what we're gonna do about building bleachers or not.
Mr. Flainer?
I make a motion we table this to our next workshop to discuss this and get either a finalized item or an actual bill for number instead of just not to exceed $25,000.
Second.
All right.
It's gotta be voted on.
Go ahead.
Uh,
Got a comment first.
If we table this, Mr. Patrick or Mr. Boyd, could you give us, if we was to replace, what all that would include? It seems like in the workshop you said it would not only be bleachers, but press box, filming, and coach's box, all in one tower. Is that,
That's correct.
because we need that replaced anyway.
That was all in that presentation that you got.
What I thought,
Yes, sir.
yes.
And it also had the fees, estimated fee for doing renovations or new bleachers. That was all there.
That's what I thought.
We need to focus a little harder next meeting and make a decision.
The board has not made a decision yet on renovation or replacement.
Right. Okay, let's vote, Jennifer.
Voting's open.
This is to defer till the June meeting, or
Table.
or table till the workshop?
Wait just a minute. My intent was to postpone till the next month, so we could bring, because this way you're gonna have to make a motion to pull it back off the
Pull it
table.
back off the table if you table it.
Yeah. Can I thought my language, I meant to postpone to our workshop to have more discussion on this.
Postpone
to the workshop.
Okay.
Okay.
You're used to my tabling, but I really postponed
This
this.
is being tabled.
I'll correct the language.
Okay.
I'll correct it to postpone until,
Instead of table.
postpone until when?
So this is not a table?
Postpone to workshop.
I think the same end result. Mr. Fleeter would need to make the motion to move it back on since he tabled it.
Okay, okay.
It carries, and I'll correct the language on that.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Let's move to 5K.
Okay, and that is high school's virtual Wednesdays. The board approved that because there were high school teachers that had a load of both virtual students and in-person students, that they've been on a virtual Wednesday schedule where students are not at the schools, but that the teachers have the opportunity to teach virtually on that day. The recommendation is that tomorrow be the last virtual Wednesday. There has been some concern expressed. Even though we begin taking up the Chromebooks that have been issued this week, there's going to be some, the virtual students may continue, of course, until close to the end of the school. They will wrap up their year prior to that last day of school. So the request, at least my recommendation, is that we do end tomorrow. And other considerations can be done, but what's been discussed is we think tomorrow would be a reasonable time to have it as the last virtual Wednesday.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Anybody? Let's vote.
I have a question. How many are left after tomorrow?
You have those numbers, Dr. Keith? Oh, there's 2 Wednesdays left. I was thinking
Two
it's
Wednesdays
2.
left.
That is, Mr. Moore.
That's what I recommend, if there's, discussion by the board members.
Motion carries, 1 no, Ms. Buchanan.
One question, Mr. Master.
Where are we at in Boone Street Mill? Are we under contract or not under contract, or, do you know?
Mr. Bennett said, based on what the board approved as a counteroffer, as I think his response about some questions was in that counteroffer, and they accepted. So the board had already, by that counteroffer, with their acceptance, moving forward.
So we are under contract then?
I am not aware of any signature, but based on the interaction with Mr. Bennett.
I just know we got a text or something from Mr. Bennett that says we have a deal, but I ain't heard no more.
As far as formality, but I defer to legal counsel on that. If he says we have a deal, then I would say the answer is yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, new business, WCA.
While Ms. Francis coming up here, I would like to say, I want to appreciate all of our teachers during National Teacher Appreciation Week. Thanks for all of you all too.
I'll send them all a message. I can't do that. Wish I could. Thank you. Good evening. Several things to thank you for. Thank you for all the extra time and planning you've put into all these extra meetings and workshops for efficiency. This is, pretty quick for WCEA to be up here. It's a very quick meetings, productive meetings. And it's been noticed. So thank you for, I don't know who to thank, Cindy Purcell or Brad, or for the MedBook Plus option. Perfect timing to have
opportunity for a $2,000 interest-free loan with hail damage, siding damage, hail damage that revealed termite damage. You know, so it's that I hope that I don't have to use that, but I may have to. Thank you for approving the 4% raise for the next school year. That was greatly appreciated, is greatly appreciated. But I would like to ask if there are plans to cover the increase in insurance for next year.
Anybody? Not at this time? I don't know. It wasn't in the.
That was not in the approved budget.
Yeah.
Well, then you probably don't have it on your budget for a bonus that matches what other counties have done for a COVID year in appreciation. From Washington County.
4% raise was.
Yeah, 4% raise. Okay.
I think that was 3% better than last year.
The budget, the bonus they got from the state too, didn't they? How much was that figure?
Yeah.
470 before taxes.
How much?
470 before taxes.
From the state.
You've already paid that, right?
I think
Yes.
long term, the raise benefit a lot more than a bonus.
I think what
Everybody.
she's talking about is there was some county commissions that designated 1,500 or 1,000 or something for their teachers. It didn't come from the board actually, but it was like, I don't remember the.
In speaking with superintendents, you know, there are several districts, counties, and
Right.
city districts that have, and it was not from the commission, but it was through the COVID dollars, the
Okay.
various different COVID money, you know, the ESSER dollars, and several districts range from $500 just one-time bonus through using those funds to somewhere even higher. I think in this region, the highest that I've heard was somewhere around between, you know, $1,200 and $1,500 one-time bonus to certified staff. But they also included all staff in that conversation.
So is that a commission thing?
Evidently was an ESSER thing.
It's an ESSER thing, which would need to be approved in the allocation to the ESSER dollars for the district, and then that would then board action to approve that. Since those are federal dollars.
Yeah.
So that's a no.
Well, I mean, I don't want to speak for everybody else, but I didn't know anything about that. I don't think we knew anything about that, but I mean, I guess if it was presented to us a little earlier, it'd been a little better.
Yeah, it was on the news quite a bit.
If I may,
ask me to vote for that.
Mr. Hill and I can look at that, and Mr. Whitaker, and in the next board meeting, we can at least report back and what that might look like.
Okay, that would be wonderful. Thank you, that would be wonderful. And one more thing, the kids would love to know, I'm sure it's a buzz. K through 5, does the mask change start tomorrow?
With board action, it's effective tomorrow, yes, ma'am.
They will be so happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so you all take a look at that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Before we go, a couple announcements. We got retreat Saturday, 9 a.m. And then we'll break for lunch and go back. I think Mr. Boyd's got a agenda worked out, a timeline, so we'll be organized and know what we're doing. May 10th, Teacher of the Year Banquet, 6:30 at the Heritage. Hopefully everybody can be there. May 11th.
What time is it?
6:30. May 11th is, looks like Daniel Boone Top 10 Banquet at 7 o'clock at Daniel Boone High School. May 13th, Joint Workshop, 5:30 Visitor Center. 5:30. Daniel Boone's at 7, joint meeting. Daniel Boone's at 7 on the 11th. May 13th is 5:30 at the Visitor Center.
And Teacher of the Year is at 6:30?
Teacher of the Year is at 6:30,
I'm
yes.
sorry, you got me mixed up. The 11th, what time? 7 o'clock?
Yeah.
the joint workshop is?
5:30 on the 13th at the Visitor Center. May 14th is Asbury graduation at 6 o'clock. And that also looks like, is that Daniel Boone High School?
Excuse me,
Yes, ma'am.
before we leave, we voted on K through 5.
Yes, ma'am.
We have a lot of pre-K, does that,
We focused on K, but pre-K should be included, yes, ma'am.
okay, so, yes, that includes pre-K.
Okay.
Okay.
Asbury
The
here
youngest
or?
kids, yes, ma'am.
Says DBH there.
Asbury's graduation?
Asbury's at Boone.
Yes, and if you can always go to the homepage and BOE,
Yeah.
and I've placed all these dates
Yep.
and times in there as well. So if you ever need a quick reference, that's also, you can find it in there.
14th is what? What's on?
14th is Asbury graduation at Boone at 6 o'clock.
We will send out an email with all these dates and details in one single email, so you have that follow-up.
That'd be great.
All right.
What about the parades, student parades, are we having them this year?
Just one high school.
That's what the latest we heard, just Boone. And it's May 15th.
What time?
1 o'clock. Mr. Campbell's helping out in the,
I don't know if Crockett's having one, you know, Ashley?
What time's the Asbury graduation?
no plans at Crockett that we've been made aware of.
No, Mrs. Wright said that the students did not organize one this year.
They don't want the road.
All right, anybody else?
They don't put,
Okay.
We have an agenda for Saturday.
It's in BOE Connect, yes, sir, and I'll send out a more time-based schedule.
No, I just, maybe a little.
Try to
late
be here
on
by now,
that.
but, yeah. All right. Thank everybody for coming. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Natalie.
Ain't bad.
You take